100% proof for an insanely high price XRP worth thousands. This is part 2 of the series. Last video, we kind of left you on the hook of a particular document. This document is going to connect the BIS as promised from the previous video. It's just so much material to get into. We wanted to respect some of you guys' time by not making this 3 or 4 hours long. So consider smashing that like. Let's get right into the material and why it matters to you.
Hey my friend, whether you're a day trader or hodler, I've got a game changer for you. BTCC Exchange, founded in 2011, is the world's longest running crypto platform with zero hacks and licenses in many countries. No KYC or VPN needed, and signing up is fast. For whales or pro traders, it's a dream. Top 5 on CoinMarketCap, unmatched liquidity, low fees, plus 250x leverage. Copy trading lets newbies make $100, $200, even $500 per day, just by copying another trader and he does the trading for you. Some people copy all the money by Q because he currently has a 93% success rate and he earns a great percentage. But leverage and copy trading is risky, so only use what you can afford to lose or seriously don't do it at all. I launched this channel to share crucial crypto insights, not to see you make reckless moves and lose your hard-earned money. BTCC has over 300 crypto available, including XRP, QNT, XLM, and HBAR. Use my referral link on the screen, in the description, or in the pinned comment for up to $10,000 USDT rewards, up to 50% off fees, and VIP perks. Never keep all your crypto on exchanges. Use reputable hardware wallets. Links below. Now let's get back to the video.
First thing is basically from this PDF. We'll share with you what that PDF is here in a bit. And it's this one right here, referred to as Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures. This comes officially from sco.org, okay? Board of the International Organization of Securities Commissions. And as you see here, application of principles for financial market infrastructures to stablecoin arrangements.
All right. Sorry, Maximus, I just want to point out something here. Yeah, so what they're doing here is actually those two regulatory bodies, those two organizations are participating. So the Committee on Payments Market Infrastructure is coming from the Bank for International Settlements, and then you've got the IOSCO. So it's actually two different organizations, the two most powerful organizations, two most powerful regulators globally coming together.
Yeah, that was the main part I was going to mention, but that's fine.
Perfect.
I don't expect you to be a mind reader. So, all right. So we're just going to highlight about roughly 3 or 4 areas of the talk about global stablecoin. So again, if you missed the previous video, you want to watch that because we're not referring to stablecoins in regard to just peg to a dollar. We're talking about the term global stablecoin. That's why it's called global stablecoin. All right. So watch this. We jump down into it. We want to highlight this area where it talks about specifically like some of these factors. Okay. So for one, there is this right here, and I meant to highlight this. It says there's distinguishing feature is that a SIPS is capable of triggering or transmitting disruptions across the financial system domestically or internationally. The main factor in assessing the potential for triggering or transmitting is the value of payments processed by the system in relation to resources of the system's participants and in the context of the financial system more generally. Another relevant factor is the nature of payments handled by the system. I want to point this out. I mentioned this on my own deep dives where it says triggering. Sometimes we can interpret that as like flipping of a switch, or maybe there's multiple switches or triggerings that needs to happen. So I just want to throw that out there. The other area I wanted to jump down to, believe it or not, again, is back to this topic about global stablecoins. So for one, the considerations, okay? So there's this whole thing of FSB considering whether a stablecoin qualifies as a global stablecoin. And back to the whole thing of we're not talking about just a regular stablecoin, right? We're not talking about USDT, USDC, even RLUSD. Global stablecoin. And look what it says here, which are in turn built upon the criteria set forth in the PFMI. Jesse's covered that in more than a few deep dives. And look what it also says, and by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision with respect to considering whether an entity is a global important bank. Okay, so that's interesting because a global one would be the BIS. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I just want to point out to our viewers that we had said that I would inject. You want me to inject at certain points, so I don't want you guys to think I'm cutting him off. Before starting the video, we said I'm gonna inject. Maximus wants me to inject whenever I see something that I want to point out. And can you go back to the document?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, so about the global stablecoin, what we showed in the first video, part 1, is that the what distincts them, why they're different from a regular stablecoin, is the global stablecoins are always used as a medium of exchange. So for them to qualify as a global stablecoin, they're always describing them as a medium of exchange. They're describing exactly what XLM and XRP does. Okay, this is not a regular stablecoin like the USD stablecoin that's maybe being held in another country and it's cross-border in that sense. No, no, no. It's global stablecoin has to be as a medium of exchange, and you're going to see that in this paragraph right here that he's highlighting. In the last 4 phrases of this paragraph, you're going to see, even right in the last phrase, it says used as a means of payments and or a store of value. They're being used as a anyway, so that's what I want to point out. For it to qualify as global stablecoin, it has to be used as a means of exchange. And we're going to show you a crazy amount of spots where it talks about a settlement asset. So just want to point that out. That's one of the definitions that it needs to have in order to qualify as a global stablecoin. It needs to be reach cross border and have a global footprint and be medium of exchange. Please continue, Max.
Sure, no problem. The other part we're going to jump down to is where it says a global stablecoin defined by FSB, widely adopted stablecoin, potential reach and use across multiple jurisdictions. Okay. And again, what Jesse just mentioned. All right. Going down further is basically this area here on the next page. Okay.
So this is how they trick us. Okay. Well, they trick 99.9% of people. Is they talk about a global stablecoin and then they talk about a stablecoin arrangement. So they kind of change the wording. So anytime they're talking about a stablecoin arrangement, you see here how they say a stablecoin arrangement is defined by the FSB as an arrangement that combines a range of functions and the related specific activities to provide an instrument that purports to be used as a means of payments and or a store of value. So you'll see with other documents that we'll go through later on, sometimes they're using like a stablecoin arrangement. That's the wording they use instead of saying global stablecoin. So when you read stablecoin arrangement, doesn't really, unless you've done so much research, they're talking about a global stablecoin being used as a means of exchange. You don't get it right away unless you've done so much research. And so sometimes they use that wording, stablecoin arrangements, while they're referring to a global stablecoin. So that's just what I wanted to point out there. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm going to jump over to the next page, which is basically from the BIS. So this one is from bis.org, and it's referred to as Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures. This is an official PDF as well. What you're going to see here is also very eye-opening in the CPMI report. Again, this dates back to October 2023. Considerations for the use of stablecoin arrangements in cross-border payments.
See, that's what I mean right there. Considerations for the use of stablecoin arrangements in cross-border payments. So they're kind of giving you the description of what a stablecoin arrangement is. So instead of saying a global stablecoin, they're just saying stablecoin arrangements, but then they're describing what it is in cross-border payments. So the stablecoin arrangement is technically a global stablecoin that's used for cross-border payments.
Very good. And on top of that, we're going to jump down to, see here. So again, official bank BIS document. We said we would bring it to you guys again, as you see here, Bank for International Settlements, right? As we jump down, I want to talk about this report and what it focuses on. It says it focuses on stablecoins denominated in a single fiat currency or pegged to one and not on issues specific to other types of stablecoin. This work is an exploratory exercise that does not recommend any particular feature of a stablecoin arrangements per se, but it instead emphasizes the compliance with applicable standards and regulatory requirements when qualifying on an SA, okay, as PDR. In the first place, consistent with the high-level recommendations of the Financial Stability Board, again, the previous video, for the regulation, supervision, and oversight of global stablecoin arrangements. No SAs with systemic importance should begin operation until the legal, regulatory oversight challenges and risks are adequately, and we'll just leave it here for a second, addressed through appropriate designs and by adhering to regulation that is clear and proportionate to the risk. Now, I just want to pause on that for a second. I want us both to come to the frame.
Yeah.
There, in my opinion, is the smoking gun, because here's why it's the smoking gun. So many people are like, well, if this is global stablecoin, why isn't it just incredibly high price, insane value? It literally just told you, because we're not at the part for regulations yet. So many things have to happen first, but we have been getting little pieces of the puzzle. Clarity Act being passed, Genius Act, some of these particular things. There's a whole slew of things that have to happen first. But by definition, that document, in my opinion, literally tells you, long before all this stuff recently happened, Genius Act, Clarity, whatever you want to call it, it's there.
They're basically telling you, and they're almost there, my friend. They're almost there. They're literally telling you, in my opinion, what they're saying here, because they say that, this stable coin couldn't go, or I forgot the wording, sorry. But basically before we have regulatory clarity. So to me, we already know XRP and XLM are basically working right now, integrating the whole system. So to me, what they're saying there is we can't flick the switch. We can't flip the switch and go crazy until, we all the regulatory clarity is globally, we have it, which they do have it. It's coming from the G20. Basically, they already know what it's going to look like. So, but yeah, they're just saying, to me, it's like, we can't flip the switch and go crazy until everything's in place 100%. And to me, the ISO 20022 is a big one. And the US, which was under this fake lawsuit, now we've got clarity there. And we've got clarity in many countries as well. So because they technically only need the clarity for the global stablecoin. So as long as the PFMI and the BIS and the IOSCO have their clarity, those are the main regulatory bodies for the whole global thing. So as long as they're clear, I think they're ready to go, which they technically are pretty close right now, I think. So yeah, like you nailed it. You nailed it. Like that's the money shot right there. It's, again, these are not CBDCs or stable coins pegged to fiat currencies.
To pound it home more, let's show a little bit more about this document. Watch this. We're going to take you to page 22 of 37. In the findings, you see here, to increase the utility of SAs for 3 to 5 seconds with finality for the on-demand liquidity, XRP, and to achieve regulatory coherence, on the premise of avoiding conflicts between the laws and regulations of various jurisdictions. Authorities should continue to coordinate internationally to implement international standards. So, geez, I mean, I know there's the part after this, Jesse, about promote interoperability, but again, international standards. To internationally implement international standards. What is happening as we speak, my friend, when it comes to implementing international standards? Hence ISO 222, an international standard, going to have a worldwide mandate November 22nd, 2025. Even here in the United States, we already had the one for us, but let's face it, there's a whole other part of that world. We're not just trying to be a siloed off in only the United States. So there's that. This, to me, it was all outlined. It's like a roadmap. It's a timeline of how everything came together, literally in these documents. So
yeah, put back that document if you don't mind. I want to point something out.
No, I don't mind at all. Yeah.
So you see here, I was telling you earlier, in these documents, they always talk about saying, oh, well, we're looking at the hypothetical case study on a potential global stablecoin, and we're just looking to see like what kind of risk, the risk assessments and stuff like that, right? And I told you in part one, I was telling the viewers how they talk like that, but sometimes they slip. And I said, these documents that they're putting together is not because they're trying to figure out like what kind of risk there is and they're concerned about it and what do we do? No. They're communicating because they're trying to line up everything to put the regulations in place so that they can have it work and, flip the switch or whatever. I'm not saying there's going to be a flip of a switch for sure, but I'm kind of leaning more on that, somewhat of a switch. But what I was saying in part one is that, you know, they talk like that, but sometimes they slip, and then you can see that the reason that they're communicating is because they're trying to make sure that, you know, they line up everything so that this works, to make sure that the global stablecoin is successful, is technically what I should have said. That's how I should have explained it. And they slip. And right here in this paragraph that you highlighted, if you can go there again, Max, please. This is what they're saying. They're saying this paragraph is so crucial. It's insane how crucial this paragraph is right here. To increase the utility and to achieve regulatory coherence on the premise of avoiding conflicts between the laws and regulations of various jurisdictions, authorities should continue to coordinate internationally to implement international standards. So they're saying here, we want this to reach max utility, okay? And we want the regulations to be coherent across the board globally. So the various jurisdictions need to communicate and make this work and promote interoperability across settlement assets. So promote this thing. Do whatever you need to do for this to be successful. This is what they're doing. This is why we're coming up with all these documents. They have to produce documents because they have to communicate somehow. But they know we're going to be digging, and they just can't lay it out and say, okay, guys, this is the plan. We're going to create a new global reserve currency, and it's going to replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And, you know, it's going to have be global liquidity to everything, and it's going to be worth a fortune, and so on and so forth. They can't say that. They can't even slip. They can't even give the impression at all in any of these documents. So that's why they word it the way they word it. Oh, it's just conceptual. It's hypothetical. We're not sure. We're just testing. We're seeing if it could work. It's always like these conceptual and theoretical scenarios. No. I keep saying this all the time in my videos. This is not theoretical. This is not just a concept where they're seeing if it could work. This has been planned for years. They're building up the Ripple net and Stellar as well. I'm bigger on. I'm not saying Stellar's small. Stellar's not small by any means, but I'm a bit more bullish on XRP, and so they're making sure everything works. They're building the networks and building the liquidity and lining up the regulations and everything. Like this, no, like this is not just a concept. This has been planned for years. They know it works. They've known for 20 years that the technology works. Okay. And they've known for about the majority of the organizations and the corporations, especially the banks, central banks, have known for at least 10 years that this is the most transformational technology in the world, one of the most transformational technology in the world. And they already know the benefits of this technology, all the benefits that the money they're going to save and all these crazy things that come with blockchain. So this is not conceptual. I just want to make it clear to the community, and I know I might sound like a broken record, but statistics show that 90% of the people that are watching our video are actually watching our videos for the first time. So if you're watching all my videos back to back, that's why it seems like I'm repeating myself all the time, which I am, but it's just because 80-90% of the people that are watching our videos statistically are actually watching our videos for the first time. So, and I can't repeat it often enough anyways. It doesn't hurt for somebody to pound that in people's head. Like, this is not conceptual. This is not a theory. They're not just testing to see if it could work. This has been planned for years, and they know it works, but they have to speak like that in the documents. They can't lay it out for us to know, because then, like if people know what XRP is really, like they're gonna lose control. Like the price, I'm thinking that they wanted the price to stay a bit low for a while for different reasons, and you know the price is gonna take off on them or something. Like there's a reason why like they can't let us know about this right now. Like they're not ready 100%. They're close. They're very close in my opinion. But that's why they can't lay it out in the documents. They have to talk like that. So anyways, end of rant for now. For 2 seconds.
All right, no worries. So listen, everybody, we're gonna now pound home everything. We're gonna go to the home stretch, try to solidify some of this. Show you another BIS document. All right, so we're going to pull this up, and this one is referred to as Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures, Board of the International Organizations of Securities Commissions. This particular report, application of the principles for financial market infrastructures. Notice how it says infrastructures.
We can't see it. We can't see the document, buddy.
No, shoot, this darn
it's okay.
All right, but anyway, application of principles for financial market infrastructures to stablecoin arrangements. So again, those arrangements already happened, right? We already implemented this. And again, back to this whole thing of Bank for International Settlements, you know, you get the gist.
And this is 2021, Max. Sorry, this is 2021, my friend.
No, I know.
4 years ago. Yeah.
But we want to highlight this area about
Yep.
the settlement assets. So for one, Jesse's going to talk more about the whole thing about CPMI. It says here, although SAs, as in, excuse me, settlement assets are considered, and basically, you know, you have FMIs based on functional approach, they may present some novel features as compared to other FMIs. CPMI and IOSCO believe that the guidance with respect to these features is useful for and relevant authorities in applying the PFMI. I know there's a lot of abbreviations to basically, like, they're important. All right, now watch this. We jump down, talks about here this key area.
And Max, I just want to say something real quick. When they talk about PFMI, they're talking about the payments markets
Infrastructure.
Financial markets infrastructure, payment financial market infrastructure from the BIS. And we're going to show you guys later how Ripple is the only blockchain company on the cross-border payment task force for the payments for the payments financial market infrastructure. Wait till we show you this. It's okay. Go back to the document. Thanks.
No problem. So basically, we want to talk about these settlement assets, okay? So for one, like it says, participants of FMI may hold settlement assets intraday or overnight to settle their payment obligations. However, if the participants hold settlement assets, they can face both credit and liquidity risk from the settlement asset. They face credit risk. The provider of the settlement asset could default on its obligation to them, and liquidity risk if the asset ceases to be readily transferable. Now, I want to talk about this for a brief moment because we mentioned this in the previous video. Well, do you really see this being a problem? I don't see this being a problem because we talked in the previous video about what to be backed by. Well, you're backed by trillions and trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars, apparently, when we talked about like debt instruments. And that's why we highlighted that in the previous video about those debt instruments. There's so many more things, obviously, than just debt instruments. Like we could talk about, what is it, derivatives. I mean, that in itself is, God, it's not just trillions. You know, we're talking about quadrillions, right? And obviously XTC plays a role in that. So I just wanted to pound home a little bit more about that. I want to get a little bit of your own 2 cents in regard to what we just shared here, Jesse.
Yeah, go back to that document. Just stay on the document if you don't mind. I want to show you something here. Okay, so participants of a financial market infrastructure, right here on right above at the beginning of the paragraph, participants of an FMI, financial market infrastructure, may hold settlement assets. Okay, they can hold a settlement asset intraday or overnight to settle their payment obligations. However, listen to this very carefully here. Like you said, but I just want to point something out. I know you read it, but I want to point something out. However, if participants hold settlement assets, they can face both credit and liquidity risks from the settlement asset. They face credit risk if the provider of the settlement asset could default on its obligation to them, and liquidity risk if the asset ceases to be readily transferable. So it's it's never gonna cease to be readily transferable. So like what they're describing here, XRP is the solution for this, because XRP is always going to be readily transferable. Okay, so for example, into claim, so the risk that they're describing here, the Ripple is always going to be liquid. And but yeah, no, actually, I was thinking of saying something else, so never mind. Skip that. I'm not being, yeah, no, just skip that. So yeah, no, just carry on, my friend. Joe, no, actually, one sec. For example, into claims on a central bank or other liquid assets. Where these risks exist, they can have systemic implications because all participants holding the settlement asset are exposed to them simultaneously. This makes it highly desirable for there to be no risk that the provider of the settlement asset will default. Isn't that interesting? This makes it highly desirable, I'm going to read it again, highly desirable for there to be no risk that the provider of the settlement asset will default. You know who never, ever defaults? Is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, because they're the lender of last resort. They never default. The central banks will default before the IMF because the IMF bails out the central banks. And what are people saying and what did I show? Technically, XRP is the new SDR, special drawing rights of the IMF. It's literally disguised as just a regular coin, a private company, but it's technically doing the IMF's business. Ripple is doing exactly what IMF tried to do in 1968 when they created the special drawing rights of the IMF, but it never got global adoption because it didn't have enough use cases and it never gained that liquidity and use cases that was needed. Because at the time, they only gave it to the banks and they never gave it to private companies and citizens, and they never gave it to everybody, including tech companies. They never gave it to everybody in order to build all the use cases and the liquidity. So they were not successful, in my opinion, my research. So let's just say Ripple is not your regular private company, my friend. There's somebody behind that company. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Well, Arthur Brito's kind of anonymous. All right, we're going to move on. What's interesting is it's Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure from the BIS. This dates back, not that long ago, right? A year ago. Cross-border payments, interoperability, and extension, Pi Task Force. Interesting, it's called Pi Task Force. Everybody's wanting to get a piece of the pie. But whatever the case be, we're going to take you down to this. Jesse's going to explain that on this list, that Ripple is the only one that's a blockchain-related company that's on this list. So do you want me to just go ahead and get into that highlight for you?
Yeah, so basically this is the payments, the Committee on Payments Markets Infrastructure. Scroll up a bit, please. So this is the CPMI. You saw all the other documents. They're always talking about global stablecoin, and they're talking about lining up regulations with the CPMI requirements, CPMI. This is it right here, the CPMI, the BIS, and this is the cross-border payments interoperability and the task force. So this is a task force. Okay, my friends, like I said in one of my other videos, I said, listen, this is a task force. This is not just a group of people getting together to go get some ice cream, my friend. This is the cross-border payments task force from the central banks of all central banks. It doesn't get higher than this. This is a task force. And the only company, like Max was saying, the only blockchain company is Ripple right there. Ripple's the only blockchain company on this task force for the cross-border payments for the PFMI and the BIS, which are always talking about this global stablecoin and DLT and cross-border payments and settlement assets, right? So my friends, that global stablecoin arrangement, that global stablecoin, that's a settlement asset is Ripple. And then Stellar as well. Stellar is technically a global stablecoin as well.
To be fair, there is finality here. I mean, you want to point that out, and they are big, but we're talking about as far as like not just privatize, publicly.
I'm pretty sure that Finality is using Ripple, though. I know some people would say no, but I'm pretty sure that Finality indirectly is tied to Ripple somehow.
Yeah,
I'd have to do a deep dive on that because I had done some research on that. But
I've done some research on Finality as well, and I feel as though that there's Quantize as well. It just screams it, but that's just
definitely, yeah. Well, Quant's involved in everything.
But I just want to be transparent with people and just point that out because we did say that the only one that's blocked.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That technically it's a DLT it's a DLT organization. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just didn't want to think like some people are like, what are you guys oblivious to Finality? No, we're not.
Yeah. No, you're right. I never saw that, so I do apologize.
No, it's all right. But again, is Finality going to solve the liquidity crisis for countries or the world? No, they're not a drop in the bucket compared to what Ripple is doing. And I understand that's for debate, and that's okay. If you're a big fan of Finality, we get it. But we don't want to make this necessarily just about Finality. Also, there's Ripple partners here. MasterCard, we see on the list, right? We also see the clearinghouse. All these ones play a key role, but again, interesting to see what Jesse was talking about with Ripple. All right, so we wanted to point that out. The other one that we want to jump into before we wrap this up completely.
Well, actually, sorry, let me add this, Max.
Yeah.
The main CEO that we see sitting with central bankers and the IMF is Brad Garlinghouse, right? So that's another thing too I want to point out. There might be another company here that does DLT, but I mean, Ripple is the only company that does instant settlement, global liquidity, all that stuff, unified ledger, shared ledger, whatever. And it's the only company that you see this boardroom, all central bankers including the World Bank and the IMF, I mean, all central bankers, the head of the BIS, the head of the IMF, and the only person that was not a central banker there was Brad Garlinghouse.
We have another video that we're going to show those visuals. All right. So we've done a few of these videos about the IMF, like, Ripple's IMF and so on. And we understand that the crypto police wants to come after us and say, no, no, no. But if anything, we brought more than receipts. And a few receipts. I'm not going to get into who that person is. Anyway, just
I'm about to do a video to
we know who the crypto police is.
Crypto police. I'm going to go through the whole list of everything that she's saying that it's incorrect, and you should follow. I'm going to go through the whole list. Yeah. And I'm going to show out everything that all of the XRP influencers are saying is correct and the crypto police is wrong.
The crypto police.
I'm about to do a video on that one. I'm getting a bit tired with it.
I don't even know if I would call it the crypto police. I'll call it the Crypto Neighborhood Watch Committee.
It's the crypto Karen of Karens.
Crypto Karen. I would agree with you on that. All right. Anyway, getting more into this and why it matters, and before you wrap it up, we want to show you the key highlight from Jesse specifically here. This is good stuff. He has some documents here. So for one, this is from your own research. Let's go ahead and highlight that and go ahead, take it away.
This is crazy. So this is I forget. Yeah. So this is a document thing. It's 2021. Can't remember the year, but it was the rise of payments and contracting platforms. It's the IMF right there. Okay. And it says the aim of this note is to offer an initial blueprint. Okay. So this is not, again, it's not conceptual. They want to offer a blueprint here, guys. Okay. So the aim of this note is to offer an initial blueprint for a novel class of cross-border payment and contracting platforms, XC. And that's the name of the IMF platform. It's called the XC platform. Isn't that interesting? So X is either for XRP or XLM, or it's technically could be neutral, because I believe X stands for neutral currency, and C, so maybe CBDC. Okay, platforms, hoping that the this is a good one, Max. This is a good one. I'm glad you pulled this document up. Hoping that the ensuing debate, there's no debate. They're acting as if it's the debate, okay? Hoping that the ensuing debate will help evolve the idea and provide a vision for countries to explore and eventually pursue, perhaps regionally to start. The blueprint is flexible. It can apply to low-value retail payments, such as remittances. What does Ripple do? Right there, right? Where frictions are greatest. Where did Ripple start, my friend? Ripple started with the payments that had the low value payments. That's where they said they were going to start. They're going to start with low value retail payments where there's most friction, and they're going to build the liquidity, and then they're going to go to bigger payments after. It's exactly what Ripple did. If any of you guys have researched that, you remember that was the strategy of Ripple. They were going to start with where there was more friction and there was low value payments. But it can adapt to any type of payments flow. Gains grow with the number of participating countries and the volume of transactions. But for now, more work is needed, including to evaluate technology. Again, they're lying here. They're not evaluating crap. Okay? It's been evaluated. They know what they're doing. But again, they need to talk about it. They need to discuss it. They need to share documents and communicate somehow. So they have to put it on paper. But so they're going to say like, oh, we're just evaluating, right? Like I told you, this is BS. Complete BS here. They're lying. Including to evaluate technology and features, consider legal requirements and reforms. Okay, so the IMF is talking about a reform here. And importantly, discuss governance arrangements. Listen to this right here, my friend. Listen to this. With its large membership and experience in governance, the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, seems like a strong partner to do so. So to get this thing going, to make this happen, this XC platform, this cross-border payments platform, and to create this blueprint, the IMF seems like a strong partner to do so. So literally, it's the same argument that we saw in the Economist magazine in 1988, where they said that they're going to get ready for a new world reserve currency. And in the article, it talked about they were seeing how in approximately 30 years from then, which would have been 2018, they could see the world as having a new global reserve currency. And the article said that this new technology that they had would help to create this new global reserve currency. and it would help with global trade, liquidity, and helping to fix the FX market, foreign exchange market, which is what Ripple does. All these three things is what Ripple does. And so the article in 1988 argued that the IMF, because the IMF had experience with the special drawing rights, they would be the best organization to manage this new global reserve currency that would be doing global trade, help with global trade, FX market, and liquidity. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Like, how interesting is that? I don't think there's anything more interesting than that.
Tell you something else that's kind of interesting. All right. So for one, hopefully you guys are still on the hook. We're gonna do a part 3. Point this out. Also interesting, the top part that's highlighted or circled, International Monetary Fund, not for distribution. So all I got to say, my friend, is I don't know where you got your document. That's okay. I have documents too. And I have a key person, won't mention him by name, who hooks me up with documents, and I've seen some things as well. And it's in regard to quant.
Nice.
And where it says I'm not allowed to share that stuff. And I have been really, really not sharing that stuff because he's my source on a lot of things. Can't. But I have let the cat out of the bag a few times. I'll say this, and I can't show the document. It's not quant video. It's just can't use this term, inevitable. So at some point, we should see some things more about quant and JP Morgan, especially with the JP, was it the JPM coin? Just throwing that out there.
Nice.
We'll see how that ages. But, you know, again, I want to respect some of my sources and so on. And so somebody didn't hook you up with that. You must have found it on your own because, I mean, geez, Jesse, come on, man. You literally have it right here, International Monetary Fund, not for redistribution. Technically, you're not supposed to share that. So, yeah, in these thumbnails, this is part 2. It says leaked documents. Well, there's another one just accidentally leaked. So with that said, do us a solid if you listen to the entire outline and type in this keyword into the comments, and that is, maybe not type in leak because that could lead to something else. So we'll just say, like the letter LD. So leaked document. There you go. And we'll know you listen to the entire outline. If you're on my channel and you're new to Jesse over Apex Crypto Consulting, follow him. He's got wonderful alpha, great research, obviously providing real documents, not just rehash shared documents, grok conversations. Nothing wrong with that, but he brings the receipts, he brings the documents. I do as well. Give everybody a follow in our community that brings the receipts, smoke, you name it. We really do appreciate you guys that are part of this community. So we'll see you guys in part 3. We're going to continue this about the 100% proof for insanely high price XRP worth thousands. Are we referring to just 1,000, 10,000? You decide on that. If anything, use your own critical thinking skills and add that up for yourself. People giving you guys false narratives, the crypto police telling you that basically speaking, there's no way any of this stuff will get to those incredibly high prices. Compare their research with ours and get back with us, and we appreciate it. And if anything, you know what? God bless that lady. We'll pray for her even with her nonsense. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys on the next video.
God bless. Thank you.